Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. I've been looking at some ridiculous things lately, and I decided there was no point to holding my peace when I have a podcast. I got a little talk show here. So why keep all these random bits of knowledge jangling around in my head when I can spread them out for everybody to hear? I was doing some research into a related matter today, and I decided to check out the major telecoms service threshold for when they will cut you off for non-payment. Just because I was looking to get some sort of a baseline so I could advise somebody. I'm a consultant on the side, so I help people. Well, imagine to my surprise that two of the three major carriers haven't updated their policies since the 1980s. And their threshold for cutting you off from your phone and your internet and your cable is a bill of $20. That's right, $20. They have the right to turn around and say, that's it, we don't trust you anymore, over $20. I'm staggered. I'm speechless. Try and get service from one of those major providers or even a minor one for $20 a month. Can't be done. And the funny part is, if for some reason you don't have the $20 to pay them, you would have to pay a reconnection fee, which is several $100s. Yeah, for being behind $20, they can trigger this provision in their company constitution that says they can go after you and shut you down. That's something we don't think about at all in our day-to-day operations. I mean, there's provisions that are left over from a time immemorial, before cell phones, before the internet, before any of this, back when pagers were brand new. $20. Again, try and get basic service with any of these people for $20. It just simply is not possible. But they can still shut you down and charge you a couple $100s to put you back on the plan. Staggering. It made me start thinking, I don't have natural gas service to the house, but I bet they have similar requirements and regulations. I bet a lot of places have not updated their business criteria in a long time. Because you know what? It suits them just fine to leave things the way they were. $20, bad customer, cut you off. Yeah, that's really advantageous. Because then whatever they do, they can say, oh, we gave them a chance. Look at our company policy. Well, it's 2021. Company policy needs to change. The United Nations passed a declaration a non-binding declaration, that internet service is a universal human right. And in my opinion, phone service also should be, because, what about dialing 911? And you might want to say that's included in almost every single phone. Okay, fine. But what about simple human contact? We just came through a pandemic where human contact was very rare and very valued. So not having phone service or internet service during that would have been a literal torture. Yes, there are some Luddites out there who say, oh, I could work out just fine with a log cabin and, fresh stream running by. And that's fantastic. Good for you. I have no problem with that. But for the rest of us who need to talk to doctors and lawyers and whatever else may come our way, it's 2021. Now, there should be a big difference between necessary internet service and necessary phone lines and the premium. But here in the Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic countries, we get charged an exorbitant amount of money for cell phones and for the internet. And the reason for this is our architecture is old. Most of the stuff that we have was built in the 60s, and it didn't have the cell phones or internet in mind. But time goes on, technology goes on. We are paying a development cost that realistically does not need to be borne by the consumer, because they're always rebuilding data lines, they're always rebuilding stuff, they're always putting new techniques in, new radio towers. Yes, sorry to tell you, your satellite doesn't actually, so the satellite does not actually connect to your cell phone. It is a radio tower 90% of the time. But they supposedly pass these costs on to the consumer. Well, one of the three major telecom companies I happen to be a shareholder in, and they regularly send me my check for my shares. Never missed a profit. They've never sent a letter out once saying, sorry, shareholders, there's no money, we can't pay you. They make good money. Per share, it's not a gold stock per se, but at the same token, it performs very well over time. So if they're sitting on enough money that they've never had to cut back their shareholders, but they can turn around and charge customers more and more, they can charge distributors more and more, while they sit back at the top of the pyramid and just collect the money, I'm thinking perhaps that's profiteering. I have no problem with people making a profit. People need to make money somehow. But as Mr. Simpson, the founder of Simpsons, famously said, I already eat 3 meals a day, I can't eat 6. And that's unfortunately where we've gone as a society. We worship these billionaires who take rides to space. Again, no problem with them doing that. That's how they're choosing to spend their money. But at the same token, maybe they're making too much money. There should perhaps be a limit in place where after you make that much money, whatever you have left over goes into social services. And this should be a floating number. It would be revised every year. But if you're making more than $100 million a year, realistically, what more do you have to do with your life? Yes, you can found new companies and new technologies, but you know what? No one's going to turn down a Jeff Bezos or anybody like that when they look for credit to start a new company. They snap their fingers and they get money thrown at them because they have proven track records. Bill Gates has basically retired from Microsoft. Microsoft isn't going anywhere. They're still doing pretty darn good. He can do anything he wants for the rest of his life and still never run out of money. And that's admirable to a certain extent. But another extent, he's allowed to sit back and direct charity the way he wants. He could be doing the same on 1/10 the money. And this is where I think a lot of the backlash towards the recent space rides by billionaires to space has come from. It's not that they haven't worked hard for their money, which they have. I take nothing away from Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk. They worked hard for their money. They are choosing to spend it in a way that benefits them. That's their vision for the future. That's what they want to do. And again, no problem with that. But the same token, how much is enough? The money that's going into these programs does not have a trickle-down effect. It has a trickle-up effect. Let me explain. The trickle-down effect was the theory in the 1980s that if you gave the rich enough money, they would spend it, and because of that, through services and things they would buy things from poorer people. They would get services from poorer people. This has been proven false every single time it has ever been examined. But there is a trickle-up effect, which means to build their rockets, they're not going to the local hardware store. They're not going to Lowe's or Home Depot and picking up a bunch of parts to build a rocket. No. They're going to Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, places like that. Places that are also multi-billion, if not multi-trillion dollar empires. So you have billionaires and trillionaires cycling their money between themselves. And meanwhile, here on the ground floor, one of these trillion-dollar multinational companies can cut you off over $20 because that's how they make their profit, by taking money from you and giving it to other rich people. And unfortunately, it affects everybody. Again, it's hard for me to sit here and say I want a cap on earnings because, first of all, it'll be hell to administer. I recognize that. It's very easy for the rich and even the not so rich to build shell companies and, have multiple places to put your investments and to offshore them. I recognize this is very, very possible. At the same token, like I said, how much is enough money? Elon Musk and Bezos and Branson all would have had their little space companies, whether it had 10 billion, 20 billion, 1 billion, whatever it was, they still were going to do what they were going to do. They were still going to build something. And that's their right. At the same token, the sheer amount of money these three people are sitting on, to say nothing of institutions like the Roman Catholic Church or the royal family, the royal families, let me expand that because there's more than one. Don't forget, the Prince and King of Saudi Arabia are sitting on ungodly amounts of money. Their people aren't, but they sure as heck are. So like I said, it's a question we have to start asking. How much is too much? At what point should we cap people's wealth? Because after a while, after you own your Learjet, after you have your helicopter, after you have your fleet of limousines, your fleet of sports cars, whatever it is you want to collect, and you're still sitting on money, that's just money for money's sake. That's not helping anybody. And even if you decide, like Bill and Melinda Gates did, that you're going to start a charity organization, that money is still mostly tied up and not helping people. But you get behind for $20, there's no charity. They're going to sick the dogs on you. The 45th president of the United States has owed over $1 billion several times in his life. No problem. Hey, Dom, we got you. But for us, you owe $20, we're going to cut off your lifeline to the outside world. Anyways, just some random thoughts rattling around inside my head. We wish to thank you for joining us for the Silverlight Show. And to all, we hope you have a great day.